capitalism, strict capitalism is mean. Mm-hmm. It's careless. It doesn't
selfish
care.
And just
does not care about anyone.
Yeah.
And socialism run amok cares about everybody too much.
Yeah,
and,
too much.
And there's not
enough structure.
Personal mobility, and people there's just something in excuse me. There's just something in people that some people are more driven than others, and that causes what's the word? Not jealousy, but when you look down on someone.
Judgment?
Yeah, I mean, people make judgments like that because they might think that I'm working harder than you and you're getting exactly what I am.
More.
But there needs to be a balance of those things. And that seems to be what America chooses every 4 to 8 years is to balance those things out.
Yeah.
Is it positive for our society? Is it good? I mean, it's hard because we're constantly changing and reevaluating, but I feel like we get it right eventually. Mm-hmm. After my dad used to say, I forget the comedian he was quoting, but he said, America usually gets it right. We always choose every other option first.
Yeah.
But then we come around to the truth, Yeah. So, but I mean, it's like the thing with the Jedi too, like going back to that video, the pure dogmatic purging of emotions is not good. Mm-hmm. And the full fulfillment of emotions is not good either.
Yeah, because you overindulge.
It's corruption. It'll corrupt you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you'll become egocentric and driven only by what you want, and you'll be careless of other people.
Yeah.
So the balance, man.
The balance. That's what it is. I mean, when you really look at things, I thought about writing a book called "It's All Bullshit Anyway," because if you look at every single structure in our society and most of the beliefs that we have, because they were stuff that we inherited, stuff that other people gave us in some form, whether from our parents or our friends or the environment we lived in, it's just bullshit. It's going to sound like I'm oversimplifying it, and it's going to sound a little wishy-washy, but when you think about it enough, it's just bullshit. So stop freaking out about it. Like there's basic things that everybody wants, right? Like every human being wants in some way or another. And then after that, it's all just extrapolation and bullshit. Mm-hmm. So like my theory, there's, I think, about 5 things that everybody wants across no matter what country or culture. It's the same. One is to be happy. That's the most complicated one.
Yeah, what is it?
Yeah, exactly. That's the most complicated one. But happiness is determined, at least in part, by the next parts. So everybody wants to be happy. Everyone wants to be healthy, mm-hmm. right? Because if you're in good health, things are good, mm-hmm. right? Everybody wants to be secure in some way. So security from the elements. That's why we live in houses. That's why we wear clothes. Mm-hmm. Security from threats and danger. There's a survival element there, right? Which is further on the list. Secure from threats and danger, anything that could cause us harm. And that extrapolates out into more complicated aspects of society. So like now, financial security. Well, why do you need money? Basically, why do you need money? To be able to...
For your security. To provide for those needs.
Yeah, so you can eat and you can be sheltered and you're going to survive. Because not that long ago, maybe a few hundred years ago, if you were homeless and had absolutely no way of procuring money, you would die because you can't buy food. And if you didn't know how to grow food, so you would die if you didn't have a way of procuring money to buy these things. And it's still now, if you don't have a way of supporting yourself, you're going to have a very hard life, and you could have some very serious implications from that. So security, everybody wants to be happy, healthy, secure. Everybody wants to be treated well by others. So that doesn't mean they want to be friends with everybody, but they want to make sure that the interactions that they have,
just not messed with,
are pleasant, know, so
not cheated, not robbed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
not lied to.
Yeah. You even if you're what's the thing with people who don't like going out and introvert.
Yeah.
So even if you're an introvert and don't like people and like being by yourself, you still want your interactions with people to be nice. You don't want to walk down the street and have someone punch you in your face or spit in your face. And if you do, you got a whole nother set of complexes there. And then the last thing, and it ties into also kind of everything else, is everybody wants to survive. Physical survival, that's genetic, that's in us. We want to survive. We want to get as long as we can.
Human body wants to stay alive.
It wants to stay alive.
By nature. Yeah.
And that survival instinct kind of extrapolates into all these other areas of society as well. So it's not just physical survival anymore. That goes into, again, financial survival or job survival or just surviving the day. You just want to get through the thing you have to get through. You want to make it as far as you can. And actually, I can add a sixth one. You want to get through it as pleasantly as possible, because it's not just a matter of survival for any animal. They want to survive in relative comfort. You know, even dogs, you know.
Survival is not an easy thing. It can be a very hard, arduous task.
Yeah. So like even dogs or cats, if you give them the option to sit out in the hot sun or in an air conditioned building, they're going to sit in the air conditioning because
I'm all going to choose the couch.
Yeah, it's gonna be more pleasant. Yeah. So people want to survive and they want to do it in as most pleasant way as possible. And that might vary depending on their culture, but the base idea is the same. So those 5 or 6 things, pretty much everybody wants. Mm-hmm. All the other assumptions and societal norms that we create based off those things, based off those primary conditions that made us, is bullshit.
Some people will say that those are constructs of capitalism, like things that make you buy things, motivating factors that make you think you need to buy things to make yourself happy, to have a certain station in life. And I've never had that much of a corrupt view of capitalism. I think capitalism is inert. It is, and that's what it is. And as long as you don't fall prey to it or fall under its misconceptions, then you can be fine. You can live in that way, in that way. But so many people get wrapped up into it as a worldview. It
becomes an obsession.
Yeah.
And just like if you're constantly trying to pursue this thing, this idea, you lose sight of the actual meaning, and it just becomes a habit. And you realize that habit has no actual structure. It has no substance. And again, eventually you just snap.
But so many people want something to blame too.
Yeah.
You know, they want to blame the capitalist,
everything else,
for all their problems, or they want to. On the other side, they want to blame the socialism for their problems. You know, that everyone's getting something that they're not getting.
Yeah,
and they're working twice as hard as most people, and they're getting a handout. You know.
Yeah.
So it's neither side is right. They're both inert. They're just social constructs. Like, so, but you really need something to blame for your inability to do something for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
The devil, basically.
Yeah, the devil. Yeah. So you have to blame something, and it's easier to blame somebody else than it is to just reevaluate your beliefs or your priorities. It's so much easier.
It's scary to look in the mirror.
And that's one of the reasons why we're so polarized now. Mm-hmm. You know, like you look at the relationship between like Democrats and on the extreme. There's a lot of moderates that you don't hear from because the extremists,
they're louder.
They're louder, and they make for more interesting TV. So they're the ones that you see more. But it's kind of a lot like Northern and Southern Ireland with the Catholics and the Protestants. You know, you had people like telling their children that like Catholics have horns growing out of their heads because they're like, you know, or Protestants had horns growing out of their heads because they're instruments of the devil. And they were raised to believe this shit just because of these differences of opinion. So now you have like, you know, the left
in the same religion too.
Yeah, exactly. The same book.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, so you have people on the left and the right just constructing these outrageous stories. They're taking very, very small bits of information or circumstance and trying to paint this picture that doesn't exist. Like with the girl, Molly Tibbetts, was that her name? She was killed by an immigrant, right?
An illegal immigrant.
An illegal immigrant. And now the right is just jumping on that to say, oh, it's a fear tactic.
Certainly.
It's used for control, but they're using that to forward their agenda, and they don't even care, you know, about the real human tragedy of it, that someone got murdered by someone because of whatever reason, but it wasn't because they're living in America and they want to disobey our laws or whatever bullshit, you know, they're trying to. I remember reading a guy off Twitter. He's like, oh yeah, well, they're just trying to say it was the left is trying to say it's a man disrespecting a woman and trying to take advantage of her and overpower her, or this, that, and the other. But it's really just an immigrant not wanting to follow our laws or some shit. And this dude has like 50,000 followers. And I'm like, what the fuck? You know, like it's just been so convoluted and so polarized that people don't even know what the fuck they're yelling about anymore.
No.
You know, I remember Mad TV did a great skit probably about 10 or 15 years ago where it was 2 different political candidates and, you know, one Democrat, one Republican. And they were saying the exact same thing, just with different words.
Wow.
You know, so, and that's that's what's going on here. Like the things that the left are yelling about what the right's doing, they're doing the same things, but are being blind to it or just accepting it. And the things that the right are accusing the left of doing, they're doing the same thing. They're doing a lot of the same bad shit, but when it applies to them, they don't care, or they're ignoring it.
One thing that I think that is going to come out of this is that just the very fact that we're having this discussion in your dining room on a Sunday night would not have happened for me 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't have. And I would have aligned myself more on the left and held a pretty narrow worldview. But things are so out of whack now that I can't even get on that side a lot of the times. I just can't. It's beyond my logic.
It forces you. So here's the thing. It either forces you to become more polarized.
Exactly.
The backfire effect.
To completely jump in full head first. Yeah.
Or it forces you to make those uncomfortable decisions and analyze the things that you believe.
Yeah.
And because I leaned more toward the left too, and I still kind of do. I hate to classify myself that way, but before I was like, I really just, if you were Republican, I thought you were an idiot, and that's where it was, and that's bad. That's unhealthy.
It is. Yeah.
And now I look, it's like, okay, well, a lot of the things that the right believe, I kind of believe too. I believe in the right to bear arms. I own firearms. I think that's fine. I do think there should be stricter gun control, though. Yeah. I think it should be harder for crazy people to get guns.
And can we have this discussion?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's nuts to think like one of the first things Trump did when he got in was allow people with like mental problems to not bar them from getting guns. Like, that's a simple one.
Yeah. I don't want someone who's schizophrenic to be able to own a firearm.
If you're diagnosed like that, you should not be able to have a gun that kills people.
Yeah. And I think it could be solved. I mean, so with the gun control debate,
but it's all or nothing.
It's all or nothing because it's my team versus your team, or it's me versus the enemy.
Yeah.
So there's no more human element.
There's no listening.
There's no more rational thinking.
Yeah.
So, or the people who do the rational thinking aren't putting enough effort to get those thoughts out there. Because again, the biggest voices get the most airtime, or the loudest voices get the most airtime.
But it's encouraging right now. There is a thing happening, especially in this podcast world and in social media, that it's getting a voice, and people are hearing it, and it's giving the people who are on the fringes of the fringe to come into the center. There's a gathering happening of logical thought. It isn't any way running the discourse by any means at all.
Yeah.
But it's encouraging to see people.
It is encouraging.
Have a debate like a gun owner like you who says, I want stricter gun laws.
Yeah.
I don't expect anyone to take my guns away.
No.
But I don't think crazy people should be able to.
Yeah, that's because I'm not, I'm not a criminal. I'm not a psychotic person.
Yeah.
It's just, and I don't have anything wrong with them. What I would love to see, briefly, we could talk about gun control. What I would love to see is.
Said no one ever. We can talk about it briefly.
Well, like I would like to see if you own a gun, you have to go through a course.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's a rifle, a shotgun, whatever. You have to go through an extended course and know the ins and out of that weapon, know what it means to use it, and if you have to use it for self-defense, know what that entails. Because there's a disconnect with using a weapon on a person. It's not personal. You can shoot from 30 feet away, and it's just point and click.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not like you have to fight somebody with your fist where you have to get right in their face, and you're going to get into it with them. There's no effort.
And they might get their hand on your throat.
There's much less threat there. So you dissociate or disassociate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, disassociate with it, and it doesn't really compute what you might have to do. So I think there should be a lesson in what it would mean to have to use that in a lethal force environment, or have to use it against another person.
It's not a movie.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And I swear to fuck, when Trump was like quoting goddamn Charles Bronson on one of his speeches, and he's like, yeah, you see him in the movies, and he's like, pew, pew, pew. He was making pew sounds. I'm like, what the, come on, man. Yeah.
You're talking about killing a person.
Yeah, not only that, you're trying to be the fucking president, and you're using pew sounds, talking about like, come on. So stricter classes, a background check, and a current psychological evaluation by a licensed professional,
or even just a verification of like, does this person have? I mean, I guess you would need an evaluation.
And that's it. And
there's no way to tell. Like,
and if you're not crazy, and you're not. You don't have a bad criminal history and things like that. You don't have nothing to worry about. If you're a responsible, sane gun owner, which most of us are, you ain't got shit to worry about.
No.
So there shouldn't be this big uproar that a lot of these people have. But again, it's that over politicized, over-polarized viewpoint of us versus them, you know?
And there can be no laws
Yeah.
Infringing the Second Amendment.
Yeah. And it's not infringing.
Even though we're not talking about muskets right
Yeah.
now, like
Yeah.
single load.
You ever watch Jim Jeffries, the comedian?
Yeah.
He has some of the best gun control arguments, and he talks about like that. And,
There's a great video. It was like a gun control commercial. This guy walks into his office with a musket. Have you seen it? It's like a workplace shooting, but he walks in with a musket.
I think I
and
did.
He shoots one guy, and then like he's reloading, you know, bites the thing off, and it sticks the rod down there, and like everybody is gone by the time he reloads.
Yeah. Or someone
Like,
could tackle him.
This is not what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about
You can deliver 30
weapons that did not exist when they wrote that law.
Yeah.
That were beyond conception.
Yeah, and I think, you know, because people can argue that, well, civilization changes and it's still, you know, it can still.
So should our document that,
exactly
that role with civilization.
Exactly. It was written to be an organic document. It was written because they know that things aren't going to be the same in 300 years. Things change.
But that's not what has occurred. And our society has become a religion.
Yeah.
America has become a religion.
It absolutely
and
has.
the Constitution is a Bible. It's not a living document.
Yeah.
It says here's the absolute laws of everything forever, and nothing can be changed.
It's so stupid. Like, I mean,
even though we have amendments, there's an amendment process.
that's the point of an amendment.
Yeah.
Like what
go, we got it wrong.
Yeah.
Let's change it.
What was the when they made booze illegal? What was that? What was that called?
Prohibition.
Yeah, prohibition. Yeah. So prohibition, and enough people are like, no, we like getting drunk, so we're going to change this because we know it's a stupid
They
law.
changed it once, and then they changed it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just
Slavery. People got the right to vote.
yeah. So, yeah.
They became actual citizens. Yeah.
It's
Not property.
But again, it's people don't want to dig into a deeper meaning. They just see that hyper polarized point, that us versus them mentality, that team versus team mentality, and they just like to fight. They like to fight. It's easier to fight and it's easier to hurt than it is to understand and change. Period.
Because it's scary times right now, and you fall into your tribe.